PROBSTEIN being so brazen with what they're doing here really concerns me. It's pretty disgusting, and it makes me question basically what else they're doing in the back end, and I've got a few thoughts on that. Hey everyone, Dan the Cardman back again. Welcome to another video. Very, very glad to have you here. So as you can see by the intro and by the title, today we're touching on PROBSTEIN and some pretty disingenuous and pretty shady shit they're doing, in my opinion, with regards to their eBay auctions that I think you need to be made aware of. Now, I did touch on this in my weekly news video from the other day, which occurs every Sunday Australian time, every Saturday US, but it needs its own video because it's that important. Now, if you're unaware, basically what PROBSTEIN have started to do with their eBay auctions is list cards as if they're being likely trimmed, right? Possibly trimmed. Now, give the guys out at Lamim James a follow because this is through their Instagram page, a really good source of content for this kind of information. But this concerns me for a few reasons. One, I think it speaks to PROBSTEIN as a business, right? So I'll get to that in a second. Two, it has ramifications for eBay's Authenticity Guarantee program, which I'll touch on again shortly. And then three, I think they're doing this to try and entice collectors that are planning on ripping off other collectors. And I'll get on that in a second as well. So to start off with, what does this mean for PROBSTEIN as a business, right? So I would be more surprised to find out that when they did this auction, that they actually truly believe that the card wasn't trimmed, right? I think there's more reason to. I think there's not more reason, but if I was a betting man, I'd more likely think that they knew that they know this card is trimmed, right? Which is pretty concerning and speaks to their kind of business practice, right? Because if you're listing a card as likely trimmed, I think you know it's trimmed, and it just implies you're trying to rip off collectors that think they might be trying to get a good deal, right? So you're trying to entice more bids on your auction. I just don't like it. I think if they're doing that kind of stuff to our face, what are they not doing? What are they doing they're not telling us about, right? What are they doing in the back end? Like, I don't have any specific examples, but they're already not shipping cards with sleeves. Sometimes they're not shipping cards in top loaders. I just don't think they have good ethics as a business. There's so many shill bids that happen on their platform that they sort of, on eBay's platform through PROBSTEIN, that they allow to occur. They can very clearly see that they're friends of the person listing the card, are shilling cards, not doing anything about it. There's just so many things that speak to, like, so many red flags, basically, that speak to them as a business as to why you'd probably want to avoid them if you're a buyer. If you want to sell, go for it. But I just think if you're a buyer looking for a deal, I don't think it's wise because their options are often shilled. Like I said, they go for pretty crazy prices. But they just seem to be very trustworthy. And something like this is pretty evident of that, right? Like, they probably know it's trimmed. So why are you doing this? Why are you trying to take advantage of someone? I don't like it. We don't need stuff like this in the hobby, and it's pretty shit, to be honest. Now, as you can see, the card's flagged as meeting the eBay's Authenticity Guarantee program, right? And I touched on this as ramifications. Now, it does have ramifications, right? Because let's say, like, what's going to happen? Will the Authenticity Guarantee look at whether the card's been trimmed or not? Or will they just look at the fact that it's authentic? If it is authentic and it has been trimmed, are they going to flag that on their little satchel that they put it in when they send it to the buyer? Or are they just going to not flag it and send it to the person, which means that person that then gets it can do whatever they want with it, right? So it's pretty concerning. It exposes eBay. I'm very curious to see what's going to happen, and it probably speaks to some potential gaps within eBay's process for this, right? So I'm very curious to see, like I said, what will happen. I'd be shocked if eBay actually authenticate this. I think they'll likely deny it and send it back to the seller. And if they don't, it's a huge can of worms, and it's something that's sort of like a watch this space kind of thing if you're within the hobby, right? Because that's just crazy if they're going to actually authenticate this and not mention anything to do with the trimming. Like, I think the best case scenario would be do authentication of the card. When they're slabbing it, they can mark on the label card trimmed, something like that. So then if somebody's trying to buy it afterwards, they sort of know what's happening, right? Now, the third point I touched on at the very start was that I think PROBSTEIN have done this, one, like the point above, because they want to get more bids on it. But I think they've also done this because they want to try and entice people that are planning to take advantage of other collectors. And by that, I mean two things. One, if it goes through the eBay Authenticity Guarantee and they don't mention that it was trimmed, it gives that person then the opportunity to sell that card to someone, not mention that it's been likely trimmed, right? And then rip someone off, and then that person then tries to sell it to someone else or get it graded, and they'll be like, actually, it's trimmed. What are you trying to do, right? That person gets left with holding the bag, right? The bag of crap, not the bag of money that you'd want to hope you were holding. But the other point is, let's say eBay denies it, they still give the person the card. That person can then take the card and sell it somewhere else and not mention that it's trimmed. And obviously, that can happen anytime, right? With any auction. I just don't like it, and I think it's just pretty shady business practice from PROBSTEIN again. more so the second point with authenticity guarantee, what's going to happen there, and that probably speaks to a bigger problem if it does occur, and probably goes to my point 3, where if that is happening and they are going to say, they aren't going to say that it was trimmed when they do authenticate it, then that gives people an opportunity to rip off other collectors, and it's pretty concerning in my opinion. So you try and avoid them moving forward, to be honest. This kind of stuff is not good. And like I said, if they're this brazen with telling us what they're doing, imagine what they're not telling us, right? So let's try and avoid them moving forward. Please give me your thoughts down in the comments below. I thought this needed its own video. I just really want people to be aware of this kind of stuff. We need to stick together within the hobby. We don't need people like this ripping us off or ripping us off, pretending they're trying to do us a favor. I just don't like it. Share your thoughts down below. I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching. Cheers.